All right, guys, how's it going? Now, this video is going to be quite difficult for me to try and convey everything to you that I want to. So it's probably going to be all over the place. It's probably going to be a long video. If you're not a very patient person, you probably don't want to watch this video. So in this video, I'm going to try and attempt to tell you why this week you are hearing that Real Madrid have ended their interest in Trent Alexander-Arnold and / or why Trent has rejected Real Madrid. Those are the two claims that have been circulating all week amongst the fans on social media. And what happens is when the fans start doing that, the Twitter twats, you know, the ITKs, they see that and they need to edge their bets a little bit. And I guarantee you that this week you will have seen videos or you'll have listened to podcasts making those kind of claims, right? And I can tell you where all of that is coming from, or where it came from, or what sparked it. Now, this started on Monday, and people come into my live stream, as they do in an afternoon or the evening, and it was, hey, Dunk, I've heard that Real Madrid have ended their interest in Trent. And other people coming in saying, Dunk, I've heard that Trent's going to stay with Liverpool. And each time, because I was aware of where all this was originating from, each time I asked them and said, is that because you've read an article on Team Talk? They went, yeah. And that's what this is about. So earlier this week, Monday morning, Team Talk, which is a website that has been around for a long, long time, back in the 1990s. Some of you that were around then will remember Brian Bentley was the guy that did all the Liverpool news. And back then we had Team Talk versus Cop Talk wars and all that. Do you remember when the internet was new? Team Talk went on to become this huge, media company, but only in the sense of like just pure bullshit really, but all transfer speculation, the usual stuff. But it looks professional, do you know what I mean, compared to some of the other shite, but ultimately it's the same shit. You know, Team Talk exists as a commercial entity to milk transfer stories as best. It's a huge operation, right? Do you pay attention to Team Talk? No, never. There you go. Me, never. All right. Not since the 1990s. I know all about it. I know what it's about. And I'm always somewhat surprised when people come to me and go, hey, Dunk, I've seen this on Team Talk, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, you don't pay attention to it, do you? And they go, no. It's like, what are you reading it for then? Do you know what I mean? So I've got to mention it. I've got to go over this article to explain to you why those Twitter twats and why some fans are going around with the opinion that Real Madrid have ended their interest in Trent. So the article was titled, Double, that means two, Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid doubts surface with major Liverpool announcement edging closer, right? And it starts off, Liverpool are gaining confidence that Trent Alexander-Arnold will sign a new deal at Anfield. And with a journalist revealing when an announcement could be made, could, not will be, could be made. Although the headline says a major Liverpool announcement is edging closer, is imminent. But in the actual article, it says could be made by a journalist. Makes me laugh, right? You can always tell the aggregator accounts, the Twitter accounts that are desperate for attention because they'll say things like journalist says or journalist says. Who gives a fuck what a journalist says unless it's Paul Joyce or David Ornstein? Seriously. Who cares about some low-level journalist? They're no more important than you or I. Do you know what I mean? So they might as well just say football fan claims or man claims or woman claims. But they tend to use that term, you know, that word journalist, so that people go, oh, a journalist has said it, which is just complete nonsense. Never take seriously anyone that says a headline, journalist says, like, just why? Just tell us who the journalist is in the title. That's part of it. If you think about it, they don't want you to know who the journalist is. Because if it was Paul Joyce, they would put it in the title. If it's a lower-level journalist, it'll say journalist. Anyway, I'm going away on things here. This is why I knew it was going to be difficult to explain this one to you. So a journalist has revealed let's see who that journalist is, shall we? Do you reckon it'll be Joyce, Ornstein? What do you reckon? Let's see what happens when we get through the article. Also, a former Arsenal star has explained the two reasons why the player is better off remaining on Merseyside. An Arsenal star, a former Arsenal star. The article goes on to tell us who Trent Alexander-Arnold is, his appearances and whatnot, and his contractual situation. We know all that. Talks about Real Madrid's, interest in the player. However, after weeks of claims and counterclaims over the player's future, journalist Graham Bailey claimed last week that Liverpool have now tabled what is described as a record offer to Alexander-Arnold, which is why last week everyone was talking about this huge offer. And it's claimed that this would be a deal that would see him become the best paid English player in the Premier League. Furthermore, it has been revealed, guys, a revelation here, right? That an announcement on his future is expected to arrive before Christmas. And the FSG now have a major belief that Alexander-Arnold will indeed reject Real Madrid's advances. Now, that's the bit when you see people say, I've been told that he's going to reject Real Madrid. So that's the bit why you've been seeing that he's going to reject them, right? Now, discussing his future was former Arsenal star Emmanuel Petit, right? Now, I don't even need to read you what Emmanuel Petit says. It's not really relevant, but it's just saying that, like, if he goes to Madrid, he's going to play every single season up into the Champions League, but he can do that at Liverpool, basically. Now, the thing is, Petit was talking to, or it says Petit told, and then it quotes a casino. And this is the bit which is interesting when former players, Liverpool players that you might think are in the loop, when they are quoted talking to a casino or a betting company, usually one that you haven't heard, you must always be very suspicious of that, okay? Glenn Johnson speaking to Butterfly Casino. They've all got opinions. Dwight York's one, they're all grifting away, trying to make a few bob or whatever, and that's fine, that's their business. But what you have to understand is that when it says spoke to such and such casino, you might think, oh, that's so that I click on there and go through and spend some money, right? Well, yeah, a little bit, but that's not the main reason. The massive reason, the big reason, is that the more websites that pick up, in this case, Petit's comments, each one of those websites will link to that casino, and that is called a backlink. Now, the more backlinks you have across the internet to your website, the higher up the search rankings your website goes, right? So these companies, they approach me all the time and they'll say, oh, former Liverpool player such and such was speaking to whatever casino. Would you include this on your website? Would you like these quotes? Because that gives me an opportunity to use those quotes, right? But they want me to link to the casino. Now, what I do at that point is go, yeah, sure, give me 200 quid and I'll do it, right? Because they try and, like, the fan sites that are naive, they think, oh, they want me, they've briefed me, right? So, and I never include these. You'll never see these on Cop Talk, right? Because at the end of the day, I'll say, yeah, I'll do it, but you've got to pay for it. I'm not a div, right? So Team Talk, for example, in my opinion, have been paid to include those quotes, right? But I could be wrong, but I don't see the benefit of it. It's very, very important. You're probably saying, what has this got to do with it? It's really important that I explain this to you because you always see former Liverpool players speaking to casinos and betting companies. Now, think about it. If you're paying those players, we want some opinions from you because we want to do an article, right? What's going to entice websites to include those quotes more, especially if they're not being paid, right? If you're not being paid, you don't care what the subject is. But then it's up for these players to make something juicy, right? Because if it's juicy, more websites will publish those quotes, right? And if it's controversial, and what does that mean? That means more backlinks, which means higher up the ranking that website goes that's paying you, higher up the Google search engine that website goes that's paying you, right? So that company that's paid you is very happy because you've got your quotes all out there, right? And the other reason is that the player being controversial is making the casino happy, so they're more likely to get retained and paid again. It's really, really important. To some of you, you're probably like, but I'm telling you, it's so important. Always be suspicious when you see a player giving an opinion that links to a casino, right? Or a betting company that you've probably never heard of. It's not really that, this really doesn't apply when it's John Barnes was speaking to Ladbrokes or William Hill. But when it's a company that you've never heard of, This is why. So it's highly likely that the player's thinking, oh, I need to come up with something here. One, to be retained, and two, to deliver. Remember that. It's very important. Anyway, this is why I knew this video was going to be difficult. So Petit waffles on about Trent Alexander-Arnold and gives his reasons about, he could become one of the best players in Liverpool's history and all that, right? So the next part of this article says in bold, how Arne Slot looks like convincing Alexander-Arnold to stay at Liverpool. Again, this is all falling into, he's not going to go to Real Madrid, he's going to stay at Liverpool, right? So you can see why the fans this week are, they're hearing these things, people are going around and repeating these things, but not saying where they're getting it from. So there's more debate, more discussion along those lines, more positive debate, let's say, because for months we've been subjected to Trent to Real Madrid, Trent to Real Madrid, Real Madrid are going to move for him. But now you're seeing a lot of people this week talking about this article, but not actually referencing the article. Oh, I think this video is hard work. Okay, let me know if you understand it. Sources have told Team Talk, of course they did, that officials from Real Madrid have been in what has been described to us as constant contact with Alexander-Arnold's entourage over a possible move to the Spanish capital. And while their appeal is obvious and aided by the presence of his closest friend in football, Jude Bellingham, we've been told, yeah, of course you have, his priority has always been to Liverpool. So again, makes it sound, doesn't it, like Trent really wants to stay at Liverpool, right? It goes on to say that Trent has wanted to see how Liverpool would adapt under Slot, which is fair comment. Now, this quote here by the journalist says, Alexander-Arnold told Liverpool that he wanted to wait until the opening months of the season to experience life under Arne Slot before deciding on his future. What that means really is, let's just assume that Trent did say that. What that means is what we've been told for months is that Trent and his agent were going to drag this out as long as possible to see if Real Madrid stepped in. Now, obviously, Alexander-Arnold was quoted recently saying he, as in Slot, helps me and teaches me a lot. He is strict with me. I like that. He helps me with the weak points in my game and he wants me to improve. He tells me where to stand to get the ball. You don't get the ball there because someone will mark you, so why would you stand there? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all the quotes out. So, again, positive comments from Trent, which now enables the ITKs, the Twitter twats, to think, oh, things are changing a little bit. So I'm sure they will have made, I bet you they made some claims this week. I haven't been monitoring them. I've only just got back. But I bet you've seen, if you watch YouTube videos from other channels, I bet you've seen someone say this week that Trent has rejected Real Madrid, or he's going to stay, or he's been offered this huge deal and that's why he's going to stay, or Real Madrid are no longer interested. I guarantee you will have seen that. The article also goes back to Petit again, saying that Slot will have played a major part in convincing the player to extend his stay. Again, more positive stuff, more reason for you to think, oh, yeah, maybe he will stay, right? So, this article, I know I'm not doing a very good job of the video, but it's very difficult to try and explain all the different points, right? This article is responsible for the various claims you have seen so far this week regarding Real Madrid apparently ending their interest in him and Trent wanting to stay and everything. It all stems from this article. And what's happened is some fans have read that, they've gone out and they do the usual, oh, I've been told that, and then that multiplies, I've been told, but they're not saying where it's coming from. And then what happens is, because the debate has gone more positive, you will have seen, if you're on social media, you will have seen that change this week to Trent's not going anymore, to he's staying, and the big contract, all this shit, right? And then that's what then prompts the bigger guns with the accounts that are trying to edge the bets, like, I need to pretend I know what I'm talking about here, then coming out and making further claims. And that's what it all is. That's what you have been subjected to this week. I think my long-term viewers will understand what I'm saying, but maybe if you're new to my channel, I've completely lost you. And if that's the case, this probably isn't the channel for you. And again, I must repeat, the throwing petite in there, the backlinks, please always be suspicious. Even if it's a Liverpool hero, if they're talking to a casino that's hardly known or a betting company that you've never really heard of before, that's for backlinks, right? So that's for backlinks. They want to be paid again, so they're going to say something juicy, and the more juicy it is, the more successful those backlinks are to the website. So difficult to explain what the fuck I'm talking about with this one. So the situation is this then. So have Real Madrid ended their interest in Trent Alexander-Arnold? No, certainly not because of this article. Does Trent Alexander-Arnold want to stay at Liverpool? Yes, he does if Real Madrid don't come in. The truth is nobody knows, right? Liverpool Football Club won't know right now what's going to happen. So how the fuck does someone on the internet know, right? A very small circle of people have an idea of what's going on. And I don't think that, you need to be a rocket scientist or in the know whatever to state the obvious here, right? Is that if you are Trent Alexander-Arnold, you do not commit your next 5 years, 4 years or whatever to anyone until you have got all the options on the table, right? And then you make a decision, yeah? And Trent Alexander-Arnold is clearly thinking about the possibility of going to Real Madrid one day, but that opportunity has to present itself to him, right? And until it does, he can't consider it, right? And you don't commit to Liverpool now when you could commit to Liverpool in a month's time or 2 months' time or whatever, because you need to leave the door open. And also, your negotiating tactic is to create confusion. Because if you're coming out saying, I've always wanted to play for this club, I don't want to go anywhere, you don't do that, do you? Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to keep them guessing to get the better deals financially. So my opinion, and it's no more important than yours, and my opinion's based on everything that I read, everything that I see, what people are saying behind the scenes, and common sense. And to be honest with you, the common sense is probably the biggest, right? Is that they've wanted to delay. We were told this specifically, and this came from someone very, very close to the situation several months ago. And that claim, and it was the only claim that was really given to us, was they will drag it out, Trent and his agent, his representative, the Trent camp, whatever you want to call it, as long as possible to see if Real Madrid come knocking. And with the injuries at Madrid, and the form and everything, it certainly heightens the chance of that. Trent doesn't commit to us unless he knows they're not going to come for him, in my opinion. And I think if Real Madrid do go in with a firm offer for him, it doesn't mean he then is going to jump for Real Madrid. It means he then is able to sit down and think properly about what he wants to do. All right. Now, the latest suggestions are that Trent doesn't want to leave Liverpool mid-season, because that would be difficult for him because he'd be seen as walking out on the club in mid-season, right? If Trent is presented with the opportunity of going to Real Madrid, it would make more sense for him, if he wanted to do it next summer. One, financially, in terms of a signing on fee, and two, it makes it look like he didn't just bail on the club mid-season. Imagine if he left the club mid-season, Liverpool are top of the league, he leaves, and then they drop off, and people, whenever he goes back to the city for the rest of his life, he will be seen as a shitbag, right? So you can understand why on his mind he'd be like, I really don't want to go in January. But if Real Madrid come knocking and say, look, it's now or never, that's a big situation for him to have to consider. And, as much as there'd be people out there saying, you're a local lad, you've been given this opportunity, you'll be the captain of the club one day. At Liverpool, you'd be a superstar. Over there, you'll be a nobody, which is probably going to be very true if he did go there. That they won't be patient there when he makes a mistake. They'll be throwing pigs' heads at him and everything, right? But you can also see, if you're Trent Alexander-Arnold, is Liverpool Football Club as ambitious as Real Madrid? It's not. Our owners are not like that, right? They're not. Real Madrid want to win everything. Whether they do or not is a different thing. But they are like, we have to be the best. We have to beat Barcelona. We have to be the fucking best, which is why it's a crisis right now, when in reality, I think they're about 6 points behind Barcelona with a game in hand or something. I can't remember. I haven't looked for a few days. I may be wrong. Whereas our ownership, they're not going to invest more money to try and finish first. Why risk, spending another 150 or 200 million to finish one place higher from second, when all that would do really is mean that you were eating into your profits from being champions. So our owners are happy to finish first, second, third or fourth. That's the result of their ambition. They're a Champions League club, the Champions League owners, that's it. Their whole model is based on that. If you think that FSG are doing everything they can to win the league, you're deluded. But if you're happy to finish second and be has-beens or runners-up or whatever, then fine, yeah, the good owners and all that. Do you know what I mean? So you can get on his back in some ways, but in other ways, maybe you look at it and think, you know what, maybe if he is ambitious, he's more likely to succeed and be something, more likely to succeed collectively at Real Madrid. I just don't think he would be a huge hit at Real Madrid. I actually think if he went to Real Madrid, that it would bomb. I do. I just don't see. I don't think that Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Real Madrid player. You know what I mean? I just don't think he is. But who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? If you were to ask me, my opinion, and it's allowed to change, I might have a different one by the time this video has gone live, is that I think all three of them will sign contracts. The only way that Trent goes to Real Madrid is if they come knocking, because I think it'd be difficult to turn down Real Madrid. And have they come knocking? What is the latest with regards Real Madrid? Well, I'm going to tell you today. I review the Spanish football print, the Spanish football dailies every day for you. And I have brought this one back today. I usually, I get all three, but I leave them in the cafe for the workmen if there's nothing to discuss. And there is something in here today regarding Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I will talk to you about what the latest is regarding Real Madrid's interest in Trent in my next video. Otherwise, we'll be here forever, okay? So the reason for this video, I like to try and explain the reason for the video if it's maybe a little bit difficult to understand. The reason for the video is I know that you've been seeing or hearing this week that Real Madrid have ended their interest, or that Trent is going to reject them. I can tell you that it all originates from the article in Team Talk and the various claims that are made in it by a journalist, right? That I'm not going to get into that journalist. That journalist has commented on my videos before. Nothing personal against any of these journalists whatsoever. But I, as far as I'm concerned, there are two journalists you listen to concerning Liverpool Football Club, right? And that's Paul Joyce and David Ornstein. They're the only two. You may occasionally listen to Fabrizio Romano, if it's to do with maybe an Italian player or an agent that he knows or whatever. But with regards specific Liverpool stuff, you're going to be listening to Joyce for the day-to-day, stuff that comes from the people that run the club on a day-to-day basis. Edwards, Hughes, etc., right? With Ornstein, you're more likely to get more FSG stuff through him, right? Ownership, that kind of thing, although a bit of both. So Paul Joyce is it. And, there are some, you might consider some of these journalists that are in the clique of interest, or there may have been one point in the past. Maybe they're good, in-depth articles regarding player profiles or analysis or something. But, nobody else is worth listening to, right? And trust me, Paul Joyce is briefed from the people that run the club. So when Paul Joyce speaks, I can assure you that's Edwards, Hughes, etc. All right? So I wouldn't listen to anyone that's considered it like a journalist says sort of thing. It's just nonsense, guys. But you make your own opinions up. I'm sure I've made this video very difficult. If you understood or managed to get anything from this video, please let me know. I think the people that are around these parts on a regular basis will understand. So the purpose of the video is to tell you, look, if you're hearing that Real Madrid have ended their interest, that's where it's come from, and it's complete nonsense. And we're going to speak about what the latest is regarding Trent in my next video. Okay, guys, I'm sorry if I haven't done a very good job But there was just so many things to talk about in that original article. All right, I'll leave it with you. If you appreciate the video, please do give me a thumbs up. Please drop me a comment. Let me know if you managed to get anything from this video. And if you want to buy me a coffee, a cup of coffee, or a beer, I'll be having a beer on Saturday, then you can hit the thanks button, the love heart under the video, and I'll give you a shout out tomorrow morning in tomorrow morning's briefing. All right, guys, I hope some of that made sense. Yeah, I just hope it made sense. All right, cheers.